Hello, 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 hello. This is your host, Jay Real. Welcome to another week of Real Family Talk. Hope everybody's having a great Tuesday evening. As always, I am. It's Tuesday night, best night of the week, as I always like to say. Great weather today in Orlando as well. The city beautiful is doing us right. Although they say it's going to rain on us later on, I guess. Mm-hmm. Hopefully I'll be asleep by the time the rain come on. That's okay. It can rain all day, all night, I should say. While I'm sleeping, that's just fine with me. But I got some of the guests in the house. We got Jeremy's in the building. How you doing tonight, Jeremy?
I'm good. How y'all doing?
And Miss McCrae's in the building. How you doing, Miss McCrae?
I'm blessed. Hello, Orlando and listeners all around.
Oh, yes. Yes, as always, we thank you guys for listening. We got a great show lined up for you tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about Trayvon Martin this evening, what's happening with the trial of George Zimmerman. We'll get to that. But before we get there, I got a couple things I just want to speak on real quick. As I told Miss McCrae before we came on the radio tonight, I said I got a little bit of a rant, Miss McCrae.
Oh boy.
Just a little bit. Before I get to my rant, if you missed it today, this is big. Texting while driving is now signed into law. It got signed into law today by Governor Rick Scott. So if you like to text and drive, it is now illegal to do so. Again, as they say, it's a secondary offense, they describe it as, which basically means that they won't pull you over just because they saw you texting. You'll have to be committing have committed some other traffic violation first, and then they'll pull you over and notice you're texting as well, and then they'll give you 2 tickets, basically. A ticket for the texting and then a ticket for whatever other traffic violation you did as well. Tickets are going to be $30, they say, for the first offense and $60 for the second offense. So it is now officially into law. Texting while driving is a problem.
Yes, for some of us with microphones. I ain't going to say nothing else.
That's okay, brother. I've been accused of texting while driving on several occasions.
Accused,
allegedly happened. Then proof.
Well, you guilty.
You gotta have pictures, brother. You gotta have pictures. But unless you got the pictures, brother, it is not official. But yeah, it is now officially illegal. So if you like to do that or have done that in the past, watch out, because they are on the prowl. Now, back to my rant. So, driving to work this morning, listening to the radio as always. Just happened to catch one of the Caucasian brothers on the radio. I do listen to brothers as well, but on this occasion, it was a Caucasian brother. And he just so happened to be talking about black folk. And so his comment was, he was talking about how when it comes to the president, black folk don't care what he do. No matter what he do, they're going to ride for him and they're going to support him regardless of whatever crimes he may or may not have committed. Now, the context of what he's speaking on are the 2 things that they're pressing him on at the moment. They're talking about Benghazi and basically the offense is that there was a failure somewhere in the State Department, it would seem, to provide the extra security that was needed in order to protect those men in the Benghazi incident, which was clearly a planned terrorist attack. So that's the one issue. And then the other issue, of course, relates to this IRS scandal that's currently going on, where Tea Party groups were specifically targeted for IRS investigations, and so again, they're trying to bring it back to the top because that's it goes with the territory. If something goes down in a company you are over watch on, they're going to blame the person at the top, and in this case, the person at the top just so happens to be President Barack Obama. So he's catching all this blame, and for the most part, I don't know any black folk that are disparaging him for this or any other alleged incidences or any kind of criticisms of the president. We know that has been very scarce in our community. Now, here's the thing that kind of irks me about it, though, which is, something that I've talked about before. If they're acknowledging our lack of judgment on him today, it's only a reminder that when he leaves, they're going to once again remind us as we begin to judge the next individual, they're going to remind us of our lack of judgment of the current individual and basically pit it against us and put it in our face, which for me, it's a criticism that I've had for a long time. But to hear him acknowledge it only irks me further, to know that we've set ourselves up in trying to, I don't want to say we put him on a pedestal, but we put him on a pedestal. and because he's on this pedestal, we refuse to do anything to him that would give others, as we say, reason to take him off that pedestal. And I fault us for that. And I think moving forward, I think we have to be more honest, especially being that there's no consequences at this point for any kind of criticism of him. It's just natural, honest judgment based on what you see, which is what you do of anybody who holds that particular office. But we have essentially stopped doing at the idea that would somehow knock him off his pedestal. That's my rant. I'm sick of it. And it irks me that now white people are also talking about the same issue. And that bothers me. And I don't know, is it just me? Does I'm the only person bothered by this? Or do you not, or do you just see this as, they're always out to get him and this is just another opportunity for them to get him?
Pretty much.
Oh,
you already
God.
know where I stand on this, J Real. This is not new. I mean, what do they want? It's going to happen either way. So they talk about they're going to be supporting Mr. Bush when he was in office, and his Republicans didn't say much about him. They didn't criticize him, and he made plenty of mistakes. Plenty. And they were, nope, he's great. He's a good guy. He's a president. He's our president. We need to respect him. Same thing. What's the problem? Because he's a black man, everything is an issue. Everything. This Benghazi scheme, not a scheme. Somebody did pass away. I am sorry for that. But they're making it a huge deal. There were mistakes made. They already admitted that. But the fact that it keeps coming up by Republicans, why? And then this IRS thing, from what I've been reading, this has been going on for a while. And yes, because he's the president now, he's getting all the blame because it's coming out now. But this isn't brand new. This is something they've been looking into for a while. It's just one more thing, J Real. Come on now.
Right. Is that what it is? Jeremy, am I crazy?
Just one more thing.
Am I crazy?
You don't like him anyway, so we already know that.
Well, hold on. Again, I'm not even on the scandals. I'm not going to put any more blame on him to say, I mean, he's at fault because, in quote unquote, he's the CEO. So the CEO always catches the flack for what happens beneath him because these people are up under his watch. So I'm okay with him catching flack on that. I'm sure he's not the first president who had the IRS do some investigations on people of the opposite party. I'm sure this is not the first time this has happened. I'd bet that this happens on every presidential watch.
It's documented.
So I'm not so bothered by the offenses. That's not here nor there. I'm bothered by the idea that this particular gentleman is holding an entire segment of his show, 15, 20, 30 minutes discussing how black folk don't criticize and hold the president on a pedestal. That bothers me. That bothers me that he sees it and is discussing it amongst, what would probably consider mostly a Caucasian audience. I'm sure there's some brothers that listen, but they're probably in the minority, So that's my issue. That it's basically happening, and we're sitting back and going, and what? It's a problem because again, it goes to our credibility later on. Our credibility is now going to be brought into question because we refuse to question, one particular gentleman simply because he's black. And that's the only reason why we don't criticize him. It has nothing to do with what we think of his job. It has nothing to do with what we think of his ability as president or the job he's done as president. It has simply to do with the color of his skin. We refuse to hold him on any kind of judgmental plane and refuse to speak publicly against him because he's simply black. And they are going to, and it bothers me that we're going to allow them ultimately to do that to us. 407-894-1680 is the question. 407-894-1680, that's the phone number. Jeremy, what do you think, Jeremy? It is what it is? Is that what you're going to tell me, brother?
Well, I don't know why we worried about our quote-unquote credibility to that audience. Doesn't mean anything anyway until it's agreeing with them. Now they want to talk to Tavis and Cornell now,
right?
But wait till the next person come in office and he's riding with their agenda and Tavis them criticize them. I'm sure they're not gonna have them on the show, or what I'm saying. I'm sure they're not gonna value their opinions then.
Right.
So when it comes when you saying these particular people talking about us, and giving their thought on us any kind of merit to me is irrelevant.
And then here's the thing here. So we get criticized as a whole for black people about lack of interest in politics. Okay. So when he was elected, there was this huge turnout in the African American community. Great. So we're energized. We're organized. We're actually having some kind of
organized.
In a way, the fact that 98% of us actually voted for him. So as opposed to previous elections, my numbers are off. Previous elections, we didn't come out. Okay. So because we came out for this man, now it's a problem that we're not speaking against him, where before, when it's their guy in office, they didn't care. They didn't care if we were represented or not. So now, because they don't hear a voice because it's him, then it's a problem. And then when the next guy comes, there's going to be a problem. Like, what do you want? Do you want us to be part of politics? Or do you not want us to be part of politics? But because we're not doing what you want us to do,
exactly,
then it's a problem?
Always.
And we've talked about this before on this show. I think from the African American community, when I talk to my friends, when we talk about this issue, it's keeping it in-house because he already has enough naysayers. He already has enough stress. Now, it's not that we like everything that he does. That's not the point. We can definitely say, no, Mr. President, this wasn't cool. But as far as criticizing him, degrading him, doing the things that the Republicans want us to do, have that kind of outrage, that's not going to happen. That's not, because it's already there. So why would we then jump on the back as well? Some type of unity. Something.
I don't know. I think to call it unity, I think is slightly misguided. You talked about how we went out in record numbers to vote this time, which is true, but I don't really call that organization. I just call that, most people went to vote just because he was black. Had he been a
unification.
No,
I don't even call that unification.
It
simply had to do with the fact that he was black. That's why
you can unify around anything. You don't have to unify
what he's doing.
You don't have to unify along a particular thing, or unification doesn't have to fit in the category. The reason doesn't have to be
profound.
Yeah, exactly. It could be because we all got green shirts on. We unified. It doesn't matter. Unity is unity.
You cannot lie and say in 2008 there was an energy around this candidate. There was an energy that had never been seen before in politics. You cannot say that. I know Hillary was your girl and that's who you really wanted to win, but you can't say that there was some type of energy that followed from 2008. And yes, died down. People are really falling back and things like that. But you cannot tell me there was something special in 2008.
I'm not saying that there wasn't anything that black people weren't inspired. I'm just saying that the inspiration had nothing to do with what he was trying to do. The inspiration had purely to do with his color of his skin.
No, what he was saying also. We have a caller.
We have a caller. How you doing tonight, Sharon?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. What's your comment tonight?
I'm just calling because, I just got in my vehicle and I'm just hearing part of it, but a comment was made that we went out in groves, however you want to say it, to vote for him because he was black, and I'm black, but that was not why I voted for him. I have been voting ever since I turned 18 years old. I'm 53 years old now, but I went and voted because I did my homework, and a lot of my friends, I'm an educator, and you probably are aware of all the flack and backlash educators have been getting in the public school system. We did our homework. We didn't vote for him because he was black. We looked at the choices. We listened. We did every debate there was, everywhere, each one of them spoke. We made sure somebody was there to listen. We took notes. We did our homework. And it was like, okay, if we vote for this man, this is what we're going to get. If we vote for this man, this is what we're going to get. We're going to lose this. So it was a weigh-in. And no, I don't agree with everything our president has done. I don't agree with a lot of things he has stated, especially when it comes to homosexual and same-sex marriages, and other stuff. But when you look at the whole picture, he was the better choice. And it wasn't about his skin color. So that's just my comment.
I appreciate that, Sharon.
Thank you. See?
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for calling.
Lumping all black folks into one corner saying that we voted
well,
for
hold
this
on.
man just because
I'm
he's
not-
black.
I'm-
He
hold
had
on.
something to say.
I'm not lumping all black folks, but you talked about the 98%. Or the 95 or whatever the number was. It was a good 98, 95. It was up there.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm talking about. That number exists not because of I appreciate Sharon calling and I appreciate Sharon's friends, for doing their homework and their due diligence, and there's a lot of people like Sharon. But the 95, the 98%, black. That's why he was there. That's why it's 95, 98%. Simply because he was black. Had he not been black, it would have been probably 70, 80%. But it wouldn't have been that. There's a whole good 15 to 20% of people that voted and added to that number because he was black. They didn't know what he thought. They didn't know what he was supporting. They knew nothing but that his name was Barack Obama.
I think
and
that's
he
a little
had
high.
colored skin.
I think you are discounting us as a whole. I wouldn't say that high. If you want to talk maybe 60, that's one thing. But you forget there's a lot of well-informed, educated black people out there.
I'm not saying that there aren't, brother.
Okay, but
we're in a room full of them. But
I understand that. But what I'm saying,
but I'm talking about the extra. I'm talking about that extra almost 100%. That's what I'm talking about.
But
that doesn't come from knowing issues. That doesn't come from that. It had nothing to do with that.
yes, it did.
some of it did. I'm not saying all of it.
Right.
I just don't think it necessarily 95% of the black people that voted just because he was
No,
black.
I didn't say 95.
What
I
you say?
said 10 to 15, 10, 15, 20% of them did. That's what I said. I ain't say,
voted because he was
95.
black?
I'll give you that. I'll give you that. There are definitely some
I
people
wouldn't give you that. I'll give you about 40.
who I'll give you that. Definitely some people who were like, yo, this man is black.
Maybe even
He
50.
matches my skin. I'm voting for him. But I believe if it were that easy, what's my man name? Pizza. What's this? I forgot his name that quick.
Herman Cain?
Herman Cain.
No.
There have
Herman,
been,
you know
but
why
wait,
Herman Cain
there have
can't?
been black people who run before.
Here's the problem. Herman Cain can't get the black vote because Herman Cain is registered wrong. So right off the bat, he's already in the toilet because
And he a little crazy
because
too,
he's registered wrong.
But he a little
So
crazy.
he can't win nobody's vote because he's registered in the wrong party.
If he were independent,
and then he wouldn't get any independent because then he wouldn't have had no flash. He wouldn't have had no press, so nobody even knew he was existing if he was independent. So again, he's still not going anywhere. As far as what's different here is that black folk actually saw that he was able to cross the lines and see that he was actually a viable candidate. The gentlemen that have been gone in the past, the Sharptons and the Jacksons, non-viable candidates. You couldn't take them seriously because they only had one issue. And so that's the difference. But from those in the past and the president, our current president, But no, Herman Cain, he was registered in the wrong party. So he was shut down the moment he said he was a Republican. Half the black folks stopped listening to him because they thought he was Uncle Tom, simply because he was a registered Republican. It is what it is. If you listen to him and you break it down for his ideas and not what he represented, there's some things that he said that do make sense. Period. You can't debate the ideas. You may not like the idea. You may disagree with the idea.
Says the black conservative.
But there's some things about what he said that made sense. But again, he was shot down because he was registered in the wrong party. You can't. There's a black man today in today's society, in today's world, that's a registered Republican is going to 9 times out of 10 get shut down unless he says something, considered part of what we would consider, especially ones that are talking about social programs and how we can afford to have the cut. He's shut down. You can't even have that conversation in the community, which you should be able to have that conversation because it's a serious one that we need to have. But the moment you say stuff like that, you're shut down, and nobody's listening to you in our community anyway, which is sad. That has to change. But we're getting far off what my point was at this point. But like I said, I took issue with the idea that this man dedicated moments of his show to talk about black folk and how they don't criticize or have anything negative to say about the president, because that bothered me, that they're talking about it.
So I wonder
bothers me.
I wonder what that same radio host is going to say when the next person comes around, and what is he expecting? He wants us. He thinks then we'll say something about that president as a whole, as a unit.
They're gonna say we complain too much.
Right. Is that what's going to be the next complaint?
I'm sure. I think it comes from our story history of criticism of government. I think we've been consistent in that for many years. And in the last, 2008 now, right? So what are we in, 2013? 5 years? So for the last 5 years, we've been consistently silent. Like you said, it's not that we don't have criticisms, it's that we don't talk about them publicly. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're talking about. We're not discussing them publicly for fear of some kind of backlash. Because to me, it's not wrong to criticize those people in charge of you. I think that's a part of what we do. That's why we have free speech in America, to do that, regardless of who they are. Because as you say, they're not all perfect. So that there's times that we could say something negative about them without putting them down, just to say, hey, I just disagree with this. But that's the issue. We've yet to do that on any level. I'm not saying we have to jump on the Benghazi bandwagon. I'm not saying we should be jumping on the IRS scandal. I'm not suggesting that at all. I wouldn't jump on those things either, because I see the political move that's being made. But there's something. You know what I'm saying? There's something. But we're absent. We're silent, and we're afraid that we're going to add to the melee, if you will, if we speak up. And that's where I'm saying that's where we're failing. We need to speak up. Just not to prove anything to anybody, because we don't need to prove nothing to nobody. But to let him know that there's a problem. Because if we're not saying nothing, how are they supposed to know that we have a problem? If we ain't got nothing to say, why are they to assume that we have a problem? Why are they to assume that there's something that they need to address on our behalf if we ain't got nothing to say? Are we just assuming that our private outcries of displeasure are somehow manipulating their way secretly to the president and his administration? I mean, is that what we're assuming? Because if we're not speaking, we're not heard. Period. That's the point. 407-894-1680 is the number. 407-894-1680 is the number. If you don't speak, they don't know. I had this problem all the time, right? They talk about communication and relationships. Right. If you didn't tell me, how am I supposed to know?
Yeah.
It's the same concept. If we ain't talking to the president, to the media, you get stuff out through the media. That's the way this whole society works. It goes through the media. So if we're not in the media talking about our displeasures, there's no way that we can guarantee that the president, that his administration, that his cabinets are addressing or concerned, or any way for them to know that we're concerned about different issues. That's the point. As to why it's important for us to speak up. That's the reason why we've spoken up in the past. And this idea that we're going to add to the melee so we shouldn't say anything publicly right now is, I don't know what to call it, but it don't make no sense. That's all I'm trying to say. I ain't got a word for it right now.
I
but it don't
think
make
people
no
are
sense.
getting the point across. It's just not coming out the way your folks want it to be said. It's not yelling at the top of the mountaintops, we have a problem and you should be outraged. People have made their problems known to him. I believe it. We're not all just sitting in the back whispering.
Nah, we speaking in the front. They just ain't listen.
He knows. It doesn't have to be forceful and shouting and all that stuff because he already has that.
All right, Ms. McCray. I'm gonna move on. Like I said, I had said my piece. I'm gonna move on to our next topic here. So again, George Zimmerman trial is coming up. June 10th is the start date. And today they had a bunch of motions related to whether or not information about Trayvon Martin's text messages and Facebook posts, whether or not all that information should be submitted as evidence in the trial. So that was the question being posed by the judge. I spoke on this before on this show. I said that, in my opinion, how else are you going to know anything about him, if you don't submit this information? Simply because that's all you have. You can't count. To me, you can't go to the mom, you can't go to the dad because it's going to be tainted. I doubt very seriously they're going to say anything negative about their son. Not that their son was negative, but you don't expect them to say anything negative so that everything they say is going to be this positive image and that he was also, sweet and intelligent. Which, he might have been both of those things, but that wasn't everything he was, is my point. I'm sure he was a lot deeper than being sweet and intelligent. So in the case, though, the judge actually ruled today, and the judge actually ruled that at least at this moment in time, that they're not going to submit that evidence. That evidence cannot be submitted, and they would basically look at it as the trial goes on. If they need to change that ruling, then they'll change it at that particular time, is what the judge said. So obviously the judge knows apparently a lot about the law that I don't.
Mm-hmm. And it makes sense.
Because I'm just saying, if I was on trial, I want to know everything about the other person.
Why?
Why
do you want to know about the victim who was trying to walk home? Why does it matter that he was suspended or he had fights or he liked MMA? Why does that matter? All you need to know is what led up to this situation. And from witnesses' statements, they said this dude was just walking, trying to go about his business, and somebody jumps out of his car and tries to follow him, questioning him in the neighborhood. And then somehow a fight happens and the man gets killed. Why?
I say you need to know because it shows how he might have reacted in the situation. That's why it's important.
You're in a neighborhood.
Because it shows how he was going to react in the situation.
You're in a neighborhood.
Because there's several reactions that one can have. One can have a confrontational reaction. One can have a reaction of running away. But it speaks to your character because obviously we can't talk to him. It just shows people who or at least, a part of who you are that we can't find in a picture. That's what it does. It gives me a complete picture of that person based on, everything that I can see. Because what you say is what, for lack of if you're not there to defend yourself, the perception of you is going to be through your words. So your words and the pictures and the videos that you post. So that's why it's important, because it gives me a full picture of who I'm representing. Because right now, every time I think about Trayvon Martin, I see an 11-year-old boy. That's what I see. That's what I see. I'm not, and that's not who he was. He wasn't an 11-year-old boy. So this other information is important because it gives you a full picture of who he was. And again, this man is on trial for his life because if he gets convicted, he's pretty much going to jail.
Yeah,
for quite a long time.
Because he took somebody's life.
So
that's what happens.
It's important that you at least give him a full opportunity to defend himself against whom he met that evening.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I
407-894-1680.
I don't disagree with that.
407-894-1680 is the number.
It like you said, I watch a lot of Law and Order. I'm a huge fan of Law and Order, all the franchises actually, and that's one thing they always talk about on trial. They always say it speaks to the victim's state of mind or whatever may have you. That if he was an aggressive individual, I mean, from the defense perspective, if he was an aggressive individual, that would be something that would help Zimmerman. So as his lawyer, I totally agree. They should be going for it.
Sure, as an attorney, they try all types of strategies.
Yeah, I mean that's what they're supposed to do. And
I applaud the judge for being like, no.
He didn't say
not
no.
right now. She said not right now. She said in the opening, in the opening statement.
And it's a reason before that, because if it's a male or female. I'm sorry.
It was a female judge. It was a lady.
If she said no, like they always say, no judge like to have their ruling is appealed. She said no. He got found guilty. When the appeal came around, that's gonna be one of the number one reasons for the appeal. When they let it go through, which they would let the appeal happen. They would say, well, I wasn't allowed to present this evidence. No, that happens all the time with appeals. So, that's why she didn't totally stamp it that no, they're not going to present that trial.
Right. She didn't. Basically, she said at this point in time, it's basically, I guess they were going to include it as part of their opening statements and things of that. So she said at this time that information cannot be used in the trial, but she said at some later date, if we need to, address this again, we will, outside of the presence of the jury, apparently is what she said. But yeah, I do think, it goes to speak to who he was as an individual, because we can't talk to him as an individual, and friends and family are going to give you a picture of who he is, but they're not going to give you the complete picture, because no one speaks ill of their loved ones, even when they know their loved ones have done wrong. They don't speak ill of their loved ones. It's just, it's a natural response of humans. And I'm not blaming them. I don't think you should go on and say, he used to smoke marijuana, and I don't expect you to go on the stand and do that. I think that's unrealistic for you to do that. But it's also realistic for me as the defense to ask these questions. I think that's fair. I think it's fair, and I think I would want to know. I want to know. That's just like we want to know if George Zimmerman has attacked people before. Just like we want to know, what his past is. It's the same thing, because what are they going to do? They're going to say, here's what the prosecutor's going to say. The prosecutor's going to say, well, George Zimmerman has done this particular aggressive act before. He's attacked an officer before, and he's done this before, and he's done this before, so that's why he was doing this that night. That's exactly what they're going to say about him. So if his past is going to be brought into question to explain why he did what he did that night, it's fair game. You can't bring up my past and then say, well, your past is not important though.
But I'm the victim. Like, you did this to me. You decided to get out of your car. This wouldn't have even been an issue if you weren't trying to play rent-a-cop. Like, mind your business. The 911 operator said, sir, we got this. You call 911. Okay, we'll come check it out. Go on about your business. Instead, you're following this kid in the nighttime, and he's like, why is this? If somebody, well, I'm a woman, so it's a totally different situation. Different. Look, if somebody's following me,
you could react the same way
at night. I'm not gonna be all up in some man's face. I'm going to be trying to make some noise so somebody can see what's going on and get the heck on out of the way.
And I'm a man, and I would have did the same thing. So it's not about...
As what, Trayvon, or tried to get away?
I would have not went up and tried to be the confrontational one in this situation. People are crazy, man.
Clearly.
People are crazy. And you don't know what they're doing, what they have on them. Yeah. Especially in a state like Florida, licensures have gone up. There's in the last 5 years, 72 million new, people have been background checks to own guns. Really?
Yeah.
You just don't know what. And then this is a state where you have you can take a class and carry a concealed weapons permit. You just don't. It's not a smart move to confront anybody in the dark of the night, and especially in this state, because you just never know whether they're black, white, Hispanic. It don't matter what they are.
Yeah,
it's just smart.
I'd have been running down the street screaming.
But see, here two things on that. One, he's a kid, and now these teenagers nowadays, they're just crazy. They're nuts. They think they're invincible and that nothing can stop them. One,
which proves my point of why I need to know about his.
No, that's not the case. But two,
you did kind of just make a point.
No. Two, Zimmerman was already itching. He was itching for something to happen. He was itching for this boy to set off for something. He was already thinking he was doing bad things. So let's say Trayvon did take off and run. That would have oh shoot, he's guilty. I'm going to shoot him. I'm going to get him so when the cops come, I can say, see, he started running because I was coming after him because he knew he was wrong.
So now you making assumptions. But I'm not here to make assumptions.
But this is what could possibly happen. Like either way, this man was already hype. He was hyped that something bad was going on.
Now you making assumptions. 407-894-1680. It was not stated that George Zimmerman was going to shoot the man had he decided to run. That was not stated.
Look, I'm just saying his mentality was already this guy is up to something no good. He can't be in this neighborhood with a hoodie on just minding his business. He has to be up to something no good. So I'm gonna play cop and stop the action.
How you doing, brother Jimmy Shine? It's been a couple weeks, brother.
It's Real Family Talk and J Real and the gang. How y'all doing?
It's been a minute, Jimmy Shine.
Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it?
Wow.
Well, I'm thinking my phones are tapped.
Well.
Look. I heard what y'all said from the beginning of the show to now, and I'm just not going to worry about the president because he's a big boy. He can take care of himself, and he's got all kinds of people looking out for him. So I'm not going to worry about what people say about him. I think he's been in this game long enough to know that there's going to be critics and there's going to be people with support. So that's just politics. You just have to get used to that. But this is what I want y'all to do tonight for me. If you can do a little research for me. There is a DVD from the Department of Homeland Security. It is going out to the public school systems. This DVD basically says what to do in case of a national emergency, and it indicates taking the children to FEMA camps. Have y'all heard anything about that?
No, I have not, sir.
You have heard nothing about that. Okay. Just so that I don't sound like I'm off the deep end, why don't you go to my Facebook page? That's facebook.com/Jimmy.Shine627, and I have posted this on my Facebook page. And that way, maybe you do some research on it, we find out something about this, because I don't want my kid going to a FEMA camp. If there's a national emergency, you call me, I will come and pick him up. But no, I don't like this idea by the Department of Homeland Security telling public school officials to take my child off to some FEMA camp. And so I'd like to, maybe you guys could tell me something, just anything about. When you say you didn't hear anything about it, you say you don't know about it.
No, I'm gonna have to look that up though. Sending kids to FEMA camps because there's a problem. That is a problem.
In case of a national emergency, this is what, for their safety, this is what we want you to do. And I'm sure if a lot of parents heard about that, they wouldn't be happy about it.
No,
so
sure.
By all means, go to my Facebook page, read about it. I'll call back next week if I can get through. I'm at my destination now. God knows I can't tell you my destination. But I'm at my destination now.
He's in the bunker.
Oh boy. And so I thought I'd jump in on that.
All right, we appreciate you, man. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you, folks.
Bye.
All right,
bye-bye.
But to move the conversation forward here, this is why it's important to talk to our teenagers, especially about the their use on social networks and social media, the internet, and whatnot, because you could be Trayvon, you could be passed away, and the only information people have to address who you are or who you were could be your Facebook posts, your Twitter posts, your Instagram or whatever other social media that you're using. And you could be in the same situation. And regardless of who you were as a person, the perception of people is going to simply be based on who you were on social media, which is sort of basically what's happening in this particular case. They're judging him based on who he was on social media, which may have been a complete fabrication of his entire life. It may have been that. I don't know. But if you're not here to speak and tell me anything different, this is all I have. This is all I have of you. And so, I look at this as a great moment to have one of those conversations. You see, here's this young man they're trying to basically put his whole life on some Facebook posts, on some YouTube videos, on some text messages sent back and forth between friends and family, and so forth. And that's what they're going to judge his whole character on, are these messages, which, for lack of a better, there's nothing else. I can't talk to him. This is all I have. And again, you can't talk to, you can speak to family, but family is never going to give you the full picture of who anybody is. Because your family member may be the worst person ever. 9 times out of 10, if somebody asks them about you, though, you're not going to tell them everything that's negative about that family member, because you're not going to put your family down like that. And I don't think you should. But this is all we have. This is what they're using. And this, like I said, I think is a lesson that can be taught here in watching what you post. Because at some point in your life, you may be just that. Your post. You may be your Facebook messages. You may be your Facebook pictures. You may be your Twitter references. You may be your YouTube videos. And that's the perception that someone's going to have. 407-894-1680 is the number. 407-894-1680 is the number. You guys got any comments on that?
I think that is a very good message to take away from this lesson for teenagers. The stuff online does not go away. You can deactivate your Facebook page, because you can't delete it. Just in case y'all didn't know, you can only deactivate it. That means it's still in their system somewhere. So it can still be found. So those pictures go everywhere. So some random person, hacker, whoever you want to call them, somebody you don't like or don't like you, they can always go to your page, copy and paste your picture and put it on anything, or just get a video you uploaded and put it anywhere for any and everybody to see. Their stuff not going nowhere. That's why the dad in Ohio beat his little girls like that, because when you're grown, you have an understanding. You have an understanding that this stuff is permanent. This is real. This is real life for everybody to see. It's not just people in your high school looking at this stuff. This stuff everywhere. So we really need to be cognizant of what you put online, the messages you send, the videos you post, the pictures you post, the how you pose in the pictures you post,
all that's
how you choose to dance in the videos you post, what you wearing. I mean, this is like, it's really funny, because they should be telling us this, because we didn't grow up with this like this, but we understand the ramifications. Like they call it the World Wide Web for a reason,
Definitely. Were you going to say something, Ms. McCray?
On that aspect, definitely on watching what you post, and that's young adults, that's adults as well. Yep. There's research now that's saying that people are losing out on job opportunities because of what's posted on their Twitter accounts and Facebooks and whatnot. But I go back to when we're talking about learning about the victim and that aspect. I was having a conversation with somebody, and actually we read a few articles, and they talked about, like, in a shooting of some sort, okay? Because that's what this was. This was a shooting. It happened between two people, George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin. But if you were to take it as a mass killing, do you then have to go into the background of the other people that was killed? If it's a violent act against someone else, and these victims are, like you said, aren't there to speak for themselves, do you then go back to their Facebook accounts to see what their text messages said, if they were in MMA or smoking weed or whatnot? No, they are victims.
Well,
they are dead. They can't speak for themselves.
I think that's a little bit different situation.
They can't speak for themselves because they are no longer here due to this person's actions.
I think to answer that question, I think the situation in and of itself, I think it's vastly different from what happened in this particular case. But to address that, in some instances, I believe they do, because if you think about the school shootings, like what happened in going all the way back to Columbine, one of the things that they brought up about the boys is, they were bullied this and bullied that, and if I'm not mistaken, they did go back and they did find, try and find if there were evidence that these kids were being, horribly bullied. And so it kind of depends on, it's not do you always do it in a mass shooting? It's what's the situation. And I think that's what we're talking about here. It was what was the situation. And it's always situational, because you can't apply the blanket rule, because everything is different. Even the same crime is different when you look at it, in another when it involves two other individuals. So I don't think you can make that comparison on the mass shootings. I think that's just way too broad and a vastly different issue, because mass shootings typically take place due to behind the eyes of a madman, if you will, that has nothing to do. It does have victims, true, but the victims themselves are never necessarily doing something to provoke the mass shooting. They just exist and are a part of the scheme.
And so, you can't say Trayvon wasn't in that situation up until the point where they said this confrontation happened, where he approached this young man. He's, like we talked about, he saw something out of place. George Zimmerman, he thought he saw something out of place based on history within this complex. There have been break-ins and whatnot. So he sees somebody who he thinks fits the description. Young black man with a hoodie on, walking in the dark in his neighborhood.
I think
minding his business.
I might give you some credence if George Zimmerman just walked up and shot him, but there's evidence that there was struggle before the shot took place. So no, he was not just. He was certainly an innocent bystander in the situation, in the sense that he didn't know George, and his meeting of George was very random. But it's not the same situation, because, again, we're not talking about someone who just walked up and shot somebody. We're talking about two people who got into some kind of heated altercation, and then through that heated altercation, yes, a shot took place. So, no, I don't really consider it the same situation as some kind of random mass shooting and all of that, because
definitely
it wasn't.
It
wasn't a random mass shooting. And,
not in that
and
sense.
And it's important, again, if I'm on trial for self-defense, which is where his defense is, I want to know about the individual who I had an altercation with.
That you killed.
I had an altercation with.
Yeah.
Because if he was alive, I'd be asking the same type of questions. So to me, it's not about whether or not he died or is he alive. You'd ask the same question if he was still breathing today. He still have to go and answer for his past and what his role was in this situation. And so, again, because he's not there, the only thing that you have that speaks of him is his social media presence. You can think that's validly wrong, and obviously the lawyers and the family does, and I don't blame them. If it was my family, I'd probably say the same thing. But just from an outside perspective, of fresh eyes, not emotionally attached to this, it's a valid question. It is. I'm sorry.
I just don't see it.
I'm sorry,
we
Ms.
sit
McCray.
on the opposite side as usual.
I respect that we're on opposite sides of this issue. But
as
yes,
usual.
I see it as valid. I think it's a question that would be asked, because had he been alive, they would be asking the same questions. It'd be one thing if these questions wouldn't be asked if he had been alive. But these are the same questions they'd ask if he was alive. So they're not doing anything strange, weird, funky. They're doing the same thing they would have done had he been here. So again, I don't see it as...
It wouldn't be a situation if he was still alive.
Yeah, it would be.
It'd still be a situation
It's still
if
been
he
a
shot.
situation. Because even if he just got shot and even he didn't die from the shot, he just got wounded, he may not be on trial for second-degree murder, but he'd still be on trial for something because there was somebody got shot.
Right.
So again, it's the same situation. The same questions would have been asked and everything. Everything would have played out the same way. The only difference was he would have been there to say it, and he wouldn't have to been spoken through his social media presence. But because that's all they have, that's what they're going for. I'm not offended. It makes sense. 407-894-1680.
See, to me, this is the issue with the whole case in general is because I believe part of Ms. McCrae's argument is because it was drilled in our mind from the get-go. The idea was that Trayvon Martin was walking down the street and he walked up to him and shot him. You know, we didn't initially get the full story, so we kind of got fed. We got fed a lie to you can just say, yeah, we got fed a lie for a few months actually before the truth came out, when the whole story came out. Now, the whole story came out from the get-go, which you can blame on the police department because they didn't arrest him. So since they didn't arrest him, it wasn't a full investigation, yada, yada, yada. But anyway, we didn't get the full story. So in our mind, our first perception, like they say, the first impression and everything, we just perceived that this guy, Trayvon was walking home, Zimmerman saw him, thought he was somebody, and he shot him, and that was it. Well, obviously that wasn't the full story. So that's just what the whole case is. Just that's what's so crazy about the whole thing. How it's just been so many issues around this case. It's just crazy. It's just so many problems around it between just the misreporting, the unsatisfactory job of the police, the media being ignorant and rushing for ratings. It just, I don't know, it just messed the whole thing up. So now it's just ingrained in our mind that this 11-year-old boy is walking down the street and got shot by this dude toting a pistol. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know where you get this 11-year-old boy from.
The reason we keep saying that because that's the picture they keep showing.
That picture, it was a sweet picture.
I understand the sweet picture, but that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's why the media has a big problem in this, because they know that was not a realistic picture of how that boy looked. That wasn't look nothing like that.
He was a grown man.
That was a grown man. That boy's bigger than me. So it's like we had this.
You almost 6'1", right?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's like, so we have these images ingrained in our mind. So we automatically every time something comes up, it's automatically like, oh, he was. I mean, not saying he wasn't a victim, but that's why we have so much issue with everything that's coming up with Zimmerman trying to present his defense. But at the end of the day, I can't be mad at him. The lawyer has a job to do. That's what he's supposed to do. And if I was Zimmerman, I've been saying I want to know text messages, Facebook status. I'm talking to your girlfriend, your middle school principal. I want to talk to your elementary school principal. I want to know if he was always bad. I'm just be honest. I mean, that's what I'll be trying to do, because, I mean, at the end of the day, he's fighting for his life, Because Lord knows he get convicted, he going to have to be in protective custody because they can't put him in general population. He ain't going to make it.
That's all we're saying, Ms. McCrae. 407-894.
I don't agree, but I hear you. I hear you, but I still don't agree. And thank you, Judge, for making that ruling today. I'm sure it's still going to come out, but thank you.
Well, I mean, it's out. It's out. We're talking about it.
I mean, on trial.
The jury has been poisoned.
The jury has been poisoned.
Yeah,
I'm like you, so like, where they going to get this jury from?
That's the question. Where are they going to get this jury from? Where?
I don't know. There ain't no way they can go in America. Move the trial to South America.
I don't know, brother.
And then go in the country.
Crazy part is I was reading today they don't even plan to sequester the jury.
Oh, that's a problem. That's a problem.
They're just going to keep their names out of the public eye, but they're not going to, quote unquote, sequester them. But that would be interesting. And we're, June 10th, man. June 10th is less than 2 weeks away. So
see about 3 or 4 book deals for these jurors coming out of this.
I have a lot of my friends are reporters, and they're just like, they're dreading the next month. Bless their hearts. Shout out to my friends. Y'all gonna be okay.
Hey, say their names. We need some reporters.
I don't know if they
so we get some inside scoops. You heard it here first.
Yeah. we'll see. I'll talk to him. I won't get no phone calls tonight. Why'd you blasting me on the radio?
But yeah, that will be very interesting to see where they pull this jury from, this open-minded jury too. That's going to be the key, because I don't care what side you stand on. I don't know very many people who are open-minded about the case.
I wouldn't be a good juror. I would not.
I appreciate your honesty, Ms. McCrae.
I wouldn't be a good juror. Just go ahead and take me off.
I appreciate you. You got to be in Seminole County, so you're okay.
I'm good.
At least that's what that's
I'd
the
be
assumption.
a good juror.
That would be the assumption right now. until they say something different. But
I think I could be a good juror.
You think so?
you think you can be objective, sir?
I think I can get on the jury.
Okay, see.
That's all we need to be, right?
Just get on it
I just need to get on
and
the
get
jury.
in that room and flip the script.
Man, ain't got to flip nothing.
I hope they're objective. That's what I hope. Hope they're objective. Nobody should be railroaded. I thought it was wrong in history when we got railroaded for crimes. And I hope this guy doesn't get railroaded for a crime either. But we'll see what happens. But just a couple of stats to talk to. Like I said, it's a lesson for teens, man. They say 95% of teens between the age of 12 and 17 are on the internet, and 81% of them are using social media sites. So most of our kids are out there. You know, we know most of our kids are out there. They say even on average on Facebook, most teenagers have around 425 friends on Facebook. I was thinking about my Facebook. I don't even know if I have 425.
You know what? I have a lot, and I'm not.
That's probably you don't be on there that much.
I'm not. That's
I'm
the
not.
problem.
I'm talking about Jay Real. I mean, I got over 400 friends. I think I got like 6 something, and I'm not even. That's without trying.
Yeah, and you know what? When it came out, and I remember when it came out. You had to use your college ID first, your college email address, and then it expanded to those who aren't students anymore. And so at the time, it was like everybody at school. So I got like everybody at FAM who knew me, and then you go back to high school. I knew everybody in high school. It didn't even dawn on me that it's like, wait, I can't put too much personal stuff out there because all these people know. So for me, it depends on how you use your social media.
Do we need to look at your Facebook page?
You go ahead, put it up there. It's not, if I commit a crime or if a crime is committed against me, knock on wood, hope not, you'll see it's gonna be like, okay, whatever. She loved music, she loved sports, she loved her family, and she loves God. That's it. Her
Not
friends,
necessarily in that order.
family, Delta, you know.
You got to put Delta in there, huh?
You got to put that there.
You got to put the Delta.
You got to put that in.
The Rock.
2013 centennial 100 years.
Definitely. They say 94% of them are on Facebook. They say the Twitter use is increasing amongst teens. Right now, they say 26% of them are using Twitter, and another 11% are using Instagram, which both of those numbers are up. The 26% and the 11%, these are 2012 numbers, up from 2011. 2011, Instagram really wasn't on the radar. So obviously it has increased in 2012 when it kind of popped up on the radar. And I even have I'm not quite a teenager anymore, thank God. But I do know several people who tout Instagram. And so I know that it's increasing in popularity amongst people. But again,
there's a lot out there too. You know, they got the Tumblr now, and there's like a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah,
the Tumblr's out there, YouTube is out there, but I guess and for teens anyway, their use on those particular websites is 5, 6, 7%. So they're not using the Tumblr as much. They're not using Google Plus as much. The Pinterest, the Gmails. They're not using those types of social media. It's mainly right now, it would seem, most of them are on Facebook. And one of the interesting things they talked about in this study, it's a Pew Research study, if you want to check it out. One of the things that they talked about is how the teens are getting pretty clever sometimes at hiding and kind of keeping their information private for those that they want, which is, I guess you could say that can be a good thing. Unfortunately, the privacy probably just adheres to a few hundred friends as opposed to all of them. So we're not talking about keeping it private from other people. We're just from their friends. We're talking about keeping it private from those outside of the network, if you will. But it's definitely on the use, and this is certainly a warning for teens out there. Watch what you put on social media, because one day you might be defined by that media. And that message even extends to adults. We certainly don't want to be defined by what we are on the internet, because that is never going to be a true picture of who we are, even though it may show a small part of that. And that's the one thing that I take away from this we can go back and forth about the specifics of the case, but watch out for what you're posting on the internet. Check us out, though, Real Family Talk on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook. We thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week. This is 1680 WOKB. Website, realfamilytalk.weebly.com.
WOKB, Winter Garden, Orlando.